Team Blue. Yellow 1, raise your hand. Yellow 1.
This.
And black 2. Black 2.
Yeah.
You are at poetry. Red 2, raise your hand. Red 2, you're at word work. Red 1, raise your hands. Red 1, you're at computer.
So I'm here talking to some actual real-life licensed teachers who are teaching in a school outside of Abu Dhabi. I guess we're about maybe 45 minutes away. So my first question to you is how is it different teaching in this school in Abu Dhabi versus teaching in your home country? Any ideas?
For one thing, we have only one gender. In the States, I taught boys and girls. At this particular school, we teach only boys. There are some schools where you teach only girls.
Oh, okay. So you have a class full of boys. Yes. Are kids any different here than they were back home?
Yes.
Yeah? In what way, would you say?
They're much more lively.
Here?
I feel like the kids here are really similar. Yeah, the difference, I think, for me that I've noticed is the kids here are like kids back home without structure. Or without structures in place or boundaries. And so I find once those boundaries begin to develop similar to back home, then they respond similarly. And so they are much more playful, but it's not like seeing kids on a playground. But sometimes that kids on a playground happens in the classroom until those structures become routine, I guess. So.
Okay. So it sounds like classroom management is pretty critical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I guess that leads on to the second question, which is what do you wish that you knew before coming that you know now? I mean, looking backwards over what's been maybe a half a year or a year and a half for you, what do you wish that you knew before you came? What would you have done differently or studied or prepared for?
I think knowing even a small little bit of the language would help, but at the same time, speaking the language with them won't allow them to be fully immersed in English. So it's good that we are fluent in Arabic for the students, but it would be nice when it comes to classroom management to actually know some words and things like that.
Yeah. Well, my thing is patience.
You're a flexible person, and you do have patience. This job would be easy.
Easy, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I found that the one statement I keep going back to in my interview in the United States was, you will be implementing 21st century research-based strategies and learning in what is 1950s America, because we were in the US, so she made a reference to the US 1950s. And really, I keep finding that is very, very true. In fact, I think a lot of the things we're doing here with curriculum mapping and learning outcomes and assessment are more progressive than I've seen done in the West. Which is very interesting, but then you're trying to implement that and implement those research-based strategies in a place where that is not commonplace. There's been no lead up to it or build up to it. Yeah. And so it's very progressive, but there are halts along the way.
So what have been some of your favorite moments since you've been here?
I think the cultural days, where the school will have like the National Day or the Open Day, where the families come in and they decorate for their culture. They bring in animals, or they have tents inside the schoolyard where you can just sit and have tea, or things like that. You know, just it's cool to see. You don't, as Americans, yeah, we have our culture, but it's not as richly celebrated as this young country celebrates there.
Yeah. How about any other points that just made you go, wow, I'm glad I came? Anything?
I'm also glad I came to experience the Arab culture. I mean, I know in the U.S. there's a lot of stereotypes and there's a lot of fear. Yeah. And it's like any stereotype. You know, once you actually pursue learning about that culture, you find out it's most of it's hype. So,
Yeah, I really like the best moments at school here have been when my students greet me in culturally relevant ways, like if I'm part of their family or culture.
Give me an example.
For example, one of the greetings here between people is to kiss noses, like just to touch noses. And one of my students like leant up to me and was like, and I bent down. I thought he was going to whisper something, and he touched my nose with his nose. And not always. I think in other parts of the world, people talk about how excited kids get and passionate about education, and learning. But there are many times that I've found my kids literally giddy when I call them over to my small group table to teach them. And I didn't see that a lot back home. And they like literally get excited to read a book or hear a book read. So those things are really great. And the other big thing that I've loved about being here is meeting people from all over the world, teachers, and becoming friends with them and building those relationships, because there's certainly time for that here.
Yes. The students, as I said, for me are very lively, much more lively than what I'm accustomed to. But I found a new resource that's quite exciting for me, which is taking them to the computer lab. There, they just get so excited, in a positive way, get so excited to read on the computer, to do math on the computer, or draw on the computer. I'm like, wow, are these the same boys? And to hear boys who, in class, there are one or two actually who don't say a word, but in front of the computer they will actually read fluently. And it's amazing to see how technology is such a high for them.
and I think because they are so excited about education here. I mean, everyone's excited. You see it in the newspapers, education, new reform, new models of school, and I think because the kids are excited here. I know back home I've worked in larger cities and inner city districts where you get a lot of behavior problems and stuff, and I haven't faced nearly any of that here because the kids are excited. Yeah, you'll have the little occasional goofy silliness in the classroom, but as far as student respect, I feel like it's higher here. I feel like the kids actually care about being at school, most of them. And I'm a first grade teacher, so the younger kids still here. I can't speak for the older grades, but it's good to see an actual desire to learn here.